Hello Destiny players and random YouTube viewers. This week we are back with another build. We are continuing our solar builds for all classes. Last week we did a bulk solar titan build, and this week we are doing a nuclear knife solar hunter build. This build focuses on ability spam for our knives and gunpowder gamble, and adder control. This grade is for players who love solar and infinite explosions. As seen in that footage, we are constantly throwing our knives, making every target ignite, and we are consistently throwing gunpowder gamble, creating more explosions. So without further ado, let's take a look at what we need for this build. Starting with our aspects, we have Knock 'em Down. Your solar supers are enhanced. Deadshot Golden Gun has damage resistance, Marksman Golden Gun has increased duration, and Blade Barrage launches more projectiles. While Radiant, final blows with your quick throwing knife fully refund your melee energy. This is good as we have enhanced super functionality and we have basically infinite throwing knives when we are Radiant. Next, we have Gunpowder Gamble. Defeat targets with abilities, solar debuffs, or solar weapons to charge up an improvised solar explosive. Press your binded grenade button to throw a solar explosive that can be shot mid-air to cause an ignition. This is also good as we have another way to ignite and explode targets. Great for damage and adder control. Moving on to our fragments, we have Ember of Torches. Powered melee attacks against combatants make you and your allies radiant. This is good as it pairs well with our aspect Knock 'em Down. As we are radiant, we'll be constantly getting a knife charge back, and radiant gives us and our allies a 25% damage buff. The only downside to this fragment, it gives us a -10 stat on discipline. Next, we have Ember of Searing. Defeating scorched targets grants us melee energy and creates a fire sprite. This is good as fire sprites also grant us melee, and so does defeating scorched targets, meaning we're getting our melee energy back if we miss our knife. This fragment also gives us a +10 stat to recovery. Thirdly, we have Ember of Mercy. When you revive an ally, you and your nearby allies gain restoration. Picking up a fire sprite will now also grant us restoration. This is good as restoration gives us health regeneration. This also provides us with a +10 stat to resilience when using this fragment. Finally, we have Ember of Empyrean. Solar weapon final blows or solar ability final blows extend the duration of restoration and radiant effects applied to you. This is good as it pairs well with Ember of Torches and Ember of Mercy, meaning we can basically have infinite radiant and restoration as long as we keep getting kills with our solar weapons or abilities. This fragment unfortunately gives us a -10 stat to resilience. Moving on to our supers and abilities. For my chosen super, I've gone with Blade Barrage. Blade Barrage isn't mandatory for this build, so feel free to run whatever super you choose. For our dodge, we have Gambler's Dodge. Dodging near enemies fully recharges your melee ability. For the jump, I am running triple jump as I find it to be the best for Hunter. This is not mandatory for the build. For our melee, we must run proximity explosive knife. This is due to the explosions and its functionality with the chosen exotic. More on that later. And finally, our grenade. I am running Healing Grenade. This is because it is another source of granting us and our allies restoration, but it is not mandatory. And that is it for our subclass. If you do not have any of these fragments, aspects or abilities, you can purchase them for Glimmer from my core array. She hangs around in the bazaar section of the tower. Glimmer can be purchased or get anywhere in the game.
What do you see?
Moving on to our stats and armor mods. I, personally, would aim for 100 resilience, 100 strength, and as high mobility as you can. 100 resilience grants us up a 30% damage reduction at all times, and 100 strength makes our melee abilities recharge faster, and high mobility is our class stat. Having high mobility grants us an increase to our ability charge rate. If you struggle to get high stat armor, mods can be applied to your ghost to focus armor with your chosen stats. This armor can be focused at the helm.
The Vanguard will survive this. The last city will survive this.
Moving on to our armor mods. For our headpiece, we have double hands-on and a harmonic siphon. We are running double hands-on as we get bonus super from melee kills. Multiple copies of mods stack to enhance their functionality. And we are running harmonic siphon. Harmonic mods change to match your subclass, so solar weapon final blows will generate an orb of power. For our arms, we have heavy-handed and double focusing strike. Heavy-handed allows us to generate an orb of power every time we get a kill with a charge melee, and focusing strike grants us class ability energy when we deal damage with a melee attack. For our chest piece, we have solar damage resistance, harmonic reserves, and charged up. Solar damage resistance reduces the amount of incoming solar damage we take. This is not mandatory. Harmonic reserves grant us solar reserves, meaning more ammo for solar weapons. And charged up grants us an additional stack of armor charge. All these mods for our chest piece are not mandatory. Run what you please. For our leg pieces, we have Invigoration, Recorporation, and Solar Weapon Surge. Invigoration grants us melee energy every time we pick up an orb of power. Recorporation grants us health every time we pick up an orb of power. And Solar Weapon Surge grants us a damage boost to solar weapons when we pick up an orb of power. Also picking up an orb of power will now grant us armor charge. This will decay over time. And for our class item, we have the Bomber mod, the Reaper mod, and the Powerful Attraction. Bomber grants us grenade energy every time we use our class ability. This mod is not mandatory. Reaper allows us to generate an orb of power when getting a kill after using our class ability. And Powerful Attraction immediately collects orbs of power when you use your class ability. Finally, we are moving on to our chosen exotic. Our chosen exotic is the Caliban's Hand. This is a pair of exotic gauntlets for the Hunter class. The exotic perk on these gauntlets is Roast 'em. Your proximity knife scorches targets it damages with explosions, or ignites targets with final blows. After throwing a proximity knife, you gain increased melee regeneration till the knife explodes. If you do not have this exotic, the only way to acquire them is to complete a Legend or Master difficulty Lost Sector when arms are the reward. This changes daily. You must complete the Lost Sector solo. Once you've unlocked this exotic, it can be focused at Master or Hall in the tower with chosen stats using the Ghost's armor mods.
I won. Let's see what we've got for each other.
Focusing this chosen exotic is very costly, as we will need 1 exotic engram, 60,000 glimmer, 3 ascendant shards, and 1 exotic cipher. Exotic engrams come from random engram drops from defeated combatants, weekly challenges, season pass rewards, and vendor rank ups. Ascendant shards come from Grandmaster Nightfalls, Master Dungeons, Trials of Osiris, season pass rewards, and vendor rank ups. All purchases from Master Rahul. And the exotic cipher comes from Exosonology bounty and season pass rewards. And that is it for our build. But always I'm going to show some good weapons to pair with this build. First off we have Riptide, a stasis rapid fire frame fusion rifle that goes in our kinetic slot. This is good as it can run with chill clip. This allows us to slow and freeze enemies when firing the top half of the magazine. If you do not have this weapon, it can come from completing Crucible games and rank up rewards from Lord Shaxx. Once unlocked, you can focus this weapon at Lord Shaxx to make it drop with random perks. Moving on to our energy weapon, which is also my chosen exotic, I have Sunshot, a 150 RPM solar hand cannon. The exotic perk on this weapon is Sunburn. This weapon fires explosive rounds and highlights targets that take damage from Sunshot. This weapon also has a perk called Sunblast. Targets killed with Sunshot explode in solar energy. Sunshot also applies Scorch to targets. This weapon is good as it allows us to have another way of creating explosions. If you do not have this exotic, it can drop from random exotic engrams, a purchase from Xur for 29 legendary shards, or Xur's exotic engram he sells for 97 legendary shards. Legendary shards come from dismantling legendary weapons or armor. And finally, for my heavy weapon, I am running Ascendancy, a solar precision frame rocket launcher. The only way to acquire this weapon is from the exotic archive in the tower. This can be purchased for 75,000 glimmer, 100 legendary shards, 2 enhancement prisms and 1 ascendant shard. Enhancement prisms come from completing Grandmaster Nightfalls, Master Dungeons, Season Pass rewards, vendor rank ups and purchases from Master Rahul. And that concludes this week's build, and next week we'll be taking a look at a Solar Warlock build. Then we'll be moving on to our Arc builds. And also be on the lookout for a new series presented by both me and the other member of this channel. We'll take turns reviewing exotic armor pieces and weapons. But until then, thank you for stopping by, eyes up Guardians, and I'll see you Starside.